So, the way I asked the first question is just like, why'd you choose to trust a random stranger to save your marriage?
Honestly, um, I listened to a few of your podcasts and I was like, they just connected for me.
Mm,
And I was like, okay, this can help me. And so I walk every day and I listen to podcasts when I walk. I'm constantly listening to something. Right now it's always AI stuff, but uh, I just started listening to your podcast every day. And every day I had an aha that it was like, okay, I'm learning something here. I'm growing. And
mm.
so then I decided I might as well jump into this community. So I did.
There you go. Nice and simple. What was actually going on in the marriage where you were seeking that help?
It's, we were not, it wasn't like one of us was having an affair or one of us was done with the marriage. But my wife had, I think we'd been married now, 11 years. And she was like, you know what? We have a lot of great stuff. But she just wanted more. She just didn't feel 100% fulfilled. And
Mm,
so she went and got a coach who's also a shaman
wow.
and really wanted to pull out, her feminine and really go after happiness. And I knew at that point, and I was like, okay, if she's doing this, there's a risk she's going to grow and I'm not,
Mm,
and she's going to be gone. And so I just made a decision. I want to grow as well, and I want to be in my masculine. And what I started seeing by listening to your podcast is if I just do what I need to do for myself, either way, I'm going to be in great shape, right? It's going to work out. Either we're going to end up together. And I didn't have a thought that, okay, we're going to get divorced, but there's that little thing in the back of your mind. You never know, right? And so anyway, I just wanted to make sure we were both growing together.
yeah. I mean, was there any signs or symptoms that you guys have grown apart a little bit over the past few years?
Uh, yeah, I think we all in marriage we get to where life is maybe more of it gets on repeat and maybe we become more friends than lovers, right? And I think that happens to everybody unless they are truly consciously paying attention and being in their masculine energy and not being a pleaser and not doing all those things that we as men tend to do because we're married to a lot of women who are powerful women
Mm,
now that are in the workforce that are building multiple businesses. And if we don't come across that strong, then we can get sucked into that really easily. And then there's no polarity there, right? And,
yeah.
I've been through all of Tony Robbins stuff and I know all about polarity, but something about, again, just something about the way you say things, I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. I am doing that.
Mm. What were some of those things, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, I mean, I just found, I think there were a lot of times when rather than just focusing on myself, I was focusing on maybe trying to make sure the marriage is in a good place, which actually you would think that's a positive thing. We as
Right,
men
right.
think that's a positive thing, but it's not a positive thing because what it does is it turns us into pleasers.
Mm,
And when we're pleasing, we're not masculine. And when we're pleasing, nobody wants that, right? Like that's a sign of desperation.
yeah,
And
that's
and
very.
nobody wants somebody who's desperate, right?
I haven't, I mean, maybe a sociopath. I don't, I don't know, but, right. But it's funny. I just that this popped up into my head is right when you said that. It's Joseph Campbell. I don't know if you heard of him.
Yeah.
He's a cultural anthropologist, and I was reading one of his books recently, and he was talking about how actually like people need to focus on the relationship instead of themselves. But that was maybe 50, 60 years ago when he was saying that. And I think it depends on the person, right? If it's a balance, and I talk about like balance a lot between like passiveness and aggression versus assertiveness, and striking that balance is like the apex male. And I see when you said that, I see it like some people either invest too much into their wife, where they're more the anxious type and not in themselves, and some men they invest too much in themselves and not enough in the relationship or their wife.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I think it is that balance is where the
Yeah.
key is. Yeah.
So let me give you an example. Like, we're members of this, uh, just our son sells this membership where it's like a private jet thing. And so he tells me, he tells me last week, hey, I've got one that's going down to Arizona next week if you want to take it. I'm like, yeah, I'll take it. And I invite Spring, my wife, Spring, and I say, you want to come? She's like, no, I've got too much going on. And the old me would have said, oh, well, I'll stay here with you. And
Mm,
now I'm like, oh no, I want this time in Arizona. I'm going to go. Right. It's just, it's totally different. And the fact that I was there, I was only there for 3 days and I come home, I'm re-energized. I come home and our relationship's stronger. Right. And she missed me and I missed her and all this stuff versus, oh yeah, I'm just going to stay here because you're staying here. And I think so many times that's the way we think
yeah.
and do what feeds your soul. Because when
Mhm.
you're happy, that's what attracts a woman, in my opinion.
Amen. Amen. I literally had dinner last night with a guy who was going through divorce, and he said, Josh, how do I create more polarity? And I just said, in a word, space, like, take more space for yourself and break out of that monotony. I gave him other advice too, but I mean, that was like the first step for sure. And this is why space is never a bad thing. A lot of guys are so afraid that when their wife takes space from them, they're like, that anxiety part of them is like, what if she forgets about me? What if she stops loving me? It's like, that's the part of you that you need to work on, my man, is the part of you that's
Yeah,
so scared that she's going to leave you. Because if you saw
yeah,
yourself as a valuable man, why would she leave you?
yeah. I mean, that's been one of our biggest things. My wife has always been a fan of having like girls' weekends, and I think a lot of men are afraid of that kind of stuff. For me, every time she wants a girls' weekend, I'm like, go. Because when she comes back, our relationship's stronger.
Yeah. Yeah, it's my mentor I told you about. He clearly he just said there's like enmeshment and differentiation, or otherwise closeness and separation. This is how a healthy relationship goes. It's not
Yeah,
always like this and it's not always like that. It's just constant ebb and flow. It's a dance. Like that's what it is.
yeah,
It's conflict and connection. And that's why
yeah,
like her test, when she tests you, it's like, oh, time to pass the test to re-get connection again. You know what I mean? Um,
yeah. Yeah, and we both travel quite a bit for work, and so when I say quite a bit, I mean like one of us will be gone maybe a couple days a week, at least every other week,
yeah.
maybe more. Um, and honestly, in my opinion, like that separation time is super healthy because then when you come back together, like when we first got married, we worked in the same office for a while. And by the time we got home every day, we didn't want to spend time together.
Yeah.
Right. And so I had to be like, okay, I can't work in that office anymore. I'm working from home. Right. So
Yeah, beautiful. So let's jump forward to where you guys are at now. Like, how is the marriage going? How have things been?
marriage is better than it's ever been by far.
How do you know that?
Oh, we're just connected at a whole different level. It's not even close, not even comparable. Um, like the way she looks at me, just the way we communicate, we talk about everything instead of me feeling like I have to hold certain things in. And I think that's the thing. If a guy ever like feels like I want to say this to my wife, but I'm not going to, there's a problem, right? Why
Mm,
would you not? Why can't you share it?
the fear of conflict, right?
You can't share it because fear of conflict. Maybe you had an ex-wife, which in my case, I had an ex-wife who I couldn't share with, right? So I was holding things back on this wife. Well, that's not fair to her. It's not fair to me either. But it took me going through some of this to realize that. My wife also made a ton of changes. Like her feminine came out massively. She's done some plant-based medicine journeys, and then we did one together, and then we've done a lot of stuff together, and so it's been just this growth that we've been on together.
Wow. And how important throughout that process has your leadership been in that?
I mean, it's leadership. I mean, she's the one that took the first action, but what I
Mm,
would say is I've been stable, not questioning, not afraid of change, not afraid of fear, just embracing and making sure I'm growing and happy with who I am. And as long as we do that, I think that's the key to us not coming across desperate, not coming across fearful, not coming across like we're accusing them of something if they've been away for the weekend, just all that kind of stuff. The minute you
yeah.
start thinking those thoughts, you come across weak and it really changes how you show up.
Is that something that you did struggle with?
Well, in my first marriage, I struggled with that, but I've never once thought my current wife would has cheated on me or would cheat on me or anything like
Mhm.
that. So, but it having lived that in my past life, that's the challenge I think is, and whether it's our childhood or a previous marriage or whatever it is, we've all had these things happen to us that have identified in our mind who we are. It's our truth. It's not the truth, right? It's just our truth. And so, if that's who we think we are, and or that's we don't feel like we can open up and talk, there's something in there that we need to work through to so that we're not that person anymore, right? We can all change, but we are all are holding stuff in that we don't realize how big it impacts our relationships and our personal happiness, but it does.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. So what would you say is the biggest win across this whole journey for you so far?
Um, Honestly, so this whole journey, when you say this whole journey, what is this? I mean, honestly, it started, Josh, and I think there's value. Like, I haven't spent as much time in the men's, in the school group as I should. And I see the messages come across. I actually enjoy seeing the messages hit my email, and I'll just be like, oh yeah, this is a refresher, right? I need to keep this in mind. But uh, listening to your podcast, which you don't even charge for, uh, like that can change somebody's life if they just listen to those and take note and read the books that you talk about reading. And I think get in their masculine and just uh, do whatever they need to do to be happy. And you know what? If their current wife is meant to be, she's going to come back and she's going to come around. And if not, you're going to end up attracting someone better because you're going to be in a better position than you were when you attracted this wife, or
Mhm.
than that you are right now when you lose this wife, whatever the situation is. But if you are a different person, who you're going to attract is going to be 1,000 times better. And you know, uh, life. I watch so many men go through divorce and they're so depressed and they can't even function sometimes. And I've been there. But the problem is, I think what they don't recognize is if they just really do the work and show up the way they should show up and become who they really are inside instead of, hiding behind whatever it is they're hiding behind, they'll attract that person that really is going to be the perfect thing for them and be happier than they've ever been. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm happier than I've ever been.
And Brian, when I hear that, obviously you're preaching to the choir here. And so when you say that, I know someone would, if they were to hear those words, cognitively, they like, okay, that makes sense, but something inside of them just doesn't trust that's true. So if you've been at that place where like you had that doubt or that fear, like would I find someone better, like before you found your current wife, like how do you help someone who is in that fear that just doesn't fully believe that's possible?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a family that divorce was not an option.
Hmm.
Okay. And my parents loved each other up until the end, and neither of them are here anymore, but they loved each other up through the end. But there were times, in childhood that they had challenges, right? And I think we see things like that and with religious beliefs and other things, we all grow up in these cultures of, okay, this divorce is not an option. And the reality is, in some cases, divorce is the best option.
Mm.
And so, I was in my first marriage for 20 years and always justified why I stayed in it. And finally, one day, God basically said, you know what? This is not your choice anymore. This is done. I'm making this decision for you. And it actually had to be made not by me, uh, which it should have been made by me long before then, but it wasn't. And so I think at that point it was a big wake up call of, you know what? I just need to focus on myself and focus on being happy. And so before I started dating, I was really divorced for a couple of years. because I just wanted to be happy with who I am inside. And I think that's the problem. I've seen a lot of friends that they get divorced and immediately they start dating somebody else. And that somebody else that they date is the same person they're getting a divorce from.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing. And the reason it's the exact same thing is because they haven't changed. And so they're attracting the exact thing they're leaving because that's all they know how to attract because they just haven't changed inside. So I think it's really important to just get happy with who you are inside and do whatever it takes to, I mean, make sure you're going to the gym, make sure you're doing the things that make you feel good, that light you up. And then when you're ready, that right person, you'll attract them.
Mhm.
I mean, when I attracted my wife, we got married in 3 months. And I hadn't dated in 2 years. I went on 2 dates before her. And anyway, uh, but I had just made the decision like 3 weeks before I met her. Okay, I'm ready. I told myself I would never get remarried.
Yeah.
After the pain, and we've all been through the pain, guys. You're not the only one. I think it helps if you guys know you're not the only one. We've all experienced the pain.
Yeah.
And we all get through it.
Yeah, and that's the power of the group that guys don't realize until they come into it is seeing other men going through the same journey. They're like, wow, it's a law in psychology called universality, and it's unexplainable how powerful that is until you're actually in it. But I want to know from you, Brian, what is one lesson that really helped you since joining this program to get to where you're at now?
Yeah, I think the by far and away the biggest thing was to just stuff I've already talked about. It's be there for myself, be in my masculine and show up and not be afraid to talk about anything
Mm,
and to not hold stuff in. The minute you're holding stuff in, there's a problem.
yeah.
So just don't hold things in, be who you are. And if it's meant to be, I think what you'll find is when you're stronger and when you're happier because you're really being your true self, typically whoever it is going to want to spend more time with you. It's going to attract more. Your business is going to go better. Your relationships are going to go better. Your relationship with your wife, your relationship with your kids. It's all going to be better, but it starts with you, right? It's like on the airplane. What do they tell you? Put the oxygen mask on yourself first, then you can benefit other people and help them.
Yeah.
But if you're not breathing oxygen, you can't help anybody, including yourself.
You gave a practical example of how you did that when taking the flight to Arizona instead of like staying home, which you would have done. What's another example of you filling up your own cup first, that you've been doing that's led to this success?
Oh, well, you can see here, I'm a Porsche addict.
Mm,
And, I used to be like, oh, I can't buy that car because I want that car, but I can't buy that car without asking my wife. And you know what? Now, if I want a car, I buy a car.
hmm
You
hmm
know, it it, it lights me up. And so if I'm all about driving and rallying and that's what I enjoy doing, if I want another car, I'm going to buy another car. Most people would say, "Oh, I need to ask my wife."
hmm
I don't say that.
hmm Yeah, I mean, I remember one of the first clients I've ever worked with in this program when I did the online coaching in the space. And this guy was an accountant. He works 7 days a week, sometimes like 10, 12-hour days, and especially tax season. And he wanted to simply a Tesla, and like he could have easily afforded it, but he didn't want to buy it because of the whole thing. I was like, "You're buying a damn Tesla, dude!" Like it's a car he wanted. This was like 10 years ago, right? So it's like, and yeah, that's a perfect example. And so, like, it's funny you say that because oftentimes when a guy gets on a call with our evaluation team, and the reason he doesn't want to join the program is also the reason why his marriage is falling apart. So it's like I
Mhm.
need to ask my wife if I should purchase this program to invest in myself to be a better man. Like you seeking permission from your wife to be a better man is the reason why she's pulling away.
Exactly. And when you guys asked me to invest, I said, I absolutely need to invest. That's what's going to let my wife see that I'm making a choice to become a different person, right? To
Mhm.
become
And,
better.
and even further, it's like whether your wife sees it or not, it's for you to be a better
Yeah,
man.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And so it's a great example. Like most people feel like they have to ask their wife's permission. I think
Mhm.
if you can get beyond that, now you're in your true masculine.
Yeah.
When you always have to ask and please and fear and all that stuff, that's because your wife is in the masculine and you're in the feminine.
So I usually ask this question in regards to the beginning of your journey, like now, but I want to ask it this way. So other than the stuff we've already talked about like masculinity, self-love, which is like pouring into yourself, if you can go back to yourself in the first marriage and give yourself a piece of advice other than leave, what would you tell him?
Wow, that's a great thing. Other than leave, that's a good thing. That's what I
I
would
knew, I
tell
knew that was going to be your go-to,
him.
right?
But um, again, I think it's just showing up for yourself. Like I lived in that marriage
Mhm.
afraid to talk about a lot of things, afraid to do what I really wanted to do. And you can't live that way. Like you can't be in fear. Anytime we're in fear, you can't be in your heart and full of gratitude and have fear at the same time. So I guess my advice would be just be here in gratitude because you can't have gratitude and fear at the same time. And
Yeah.
that'll make you actually show up for yourself
Hmm.
instead of showing up for others. Because again, when you get in fear, now you're a pleaser. You're living life for other people instead of living life for yourself. So figure out how to get gratitude in your life every day. Tony Robbins priming is a great way to do that. There's a
Yeah.
lot of other ways to do that. I just went to Joe Dispenza a
Oh,
few months
nice.
ago.
Nice.
Amazing, amazing thing. My wife's actually going back this weekend to the second one
I
because
heard, I heard, heard he was here in San Diego this week, actually. That's
yeah,
right.
yeah, my wife's actually coming there. Yeah.
There you go.
So anyway, and I would be going there, but we have a massive event going on here in Utah next week that we're both putting on together.
Hmm.
But she's like, I'm going to go to Joe Dispenza to clear my mind and be ready. And I'm like, I've got too much going on. I can't do it. So
Yeah.
typically, again, that's another example. Just you keep asking Josh, like, what's an example? Typically, I would say, oh, yeah, you're going. You want me to go? I'll go. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to this one. Whatever you feel inside, just do. You don't have to please.
The way I would like to end this is to hear, I want to hear like a really cool moment that you had with her across the past couple of weeks or months of an example of how a connection point you guys had together that was a result of the work that you've done with yourself. Like a good
Oh,
moment.
the cool thing, Josh, is we actually have these like every day now.
Okay.
Yeah. Like she picked me up at the airport last night. Or I guess it was the night before last. She picked me up at the airport. Um, and then we got home and just the connection, we'll sit, I'll hold her, we'll look in each other's eyes, we'll talk, you know. It's about connection. I would say in the past, even if you talk about sex, like I think as men, we're so into the sex itself, where women are more into the connection.
Hmm.
And if we can just get into the connection, it
Hmm.
completely changes everything about the relationship, including the sexual relationship. But it changes just the way they look at you, uh, the way they hold you, everything to just connect. And so I would say even if you just sit down together, breathe together, look in each other's eyes, and then talk about whatever you want to talk about. Like that connection is, I think, a big piece that was missing from our marriage before that is there now, and it makes all the difference.
Beautiful. Amazing. Is there any last things you wanted to say, Brian, before we wrap up?
No, just thank you again. Sometimes I feel like I didn't participate at the level that I wanted to, but I mean, it's had a massive impact on me to be a part of this program. So I just want to thank you.
Thank you as well for sharing your story. And one thing I always like to leave guys with is often ask like, okay, Josh, we're here. Like, how do I make sure I stay here? And I think you have the own answer already, but I mean, the best way to learn something is to continue to teach it. And if you mentioned being active in the school community, if you dropped in on a group call once in a while or like responded to a couple posts, that's what
Yeah.
keeps it top of minds and helping other men too. So I just
Yeah,
leave it.
it does. And I totally agree with that. And it being there for other people actually is being there for yourself, right? So, yeah, I agree with that.
Amen. Thank you for your time, Brian.
All right, Josh, thank you.
Take care. Bye.